It was early afternoon in Florida. Heat pressing the station bays like a hand on a chest, holding everything just a second too long. Suddenly, the station tones erupt, and dispatch comes on with that voice you earn, not learn, steady as a keel in bad water. She relates man down. He says he's tired. He's alone. He has a gun. Silence. She continues, I heard a sound, sharp and mean, maybe a gunshot, metal ringing, plastic clacking on a countertop, and the strangest quiet, the dead hush of an off-hook line. Then, without missing a beat, she continues with, Rescue 12 respond. 2 of us. No police behind. We roll anyway. Neat yards. Drawn curtains. A square of kitchen window where a corded phone lies on the counter, receiver half over the edge, coil stretched tight, still as our hearts. I radio for law. City says county. County says city. Our dispatcher patches and pleads. My lieutenant works every number he's got. Somewhere, someone is asking what the exact jurisdiction is for a cry for help. Inside, the phone stays still. Outside, the minutes start winning. People think emergencies are all motion. Sometimes they're nothing but waiting, thick, suffocating arithmetic waiting. You stand on grass that looks mowed yesterday and ask yourself how long a human can bleed without decorating the lawn. You imagine a chest moving under a shirt you can't see. You imagine a trigger where a heartbeat should be. You try to do math with hands that only want to do something. We walk the yard and read the house like a chart. Doors locked, curtains closed. Hallway dark. Kitchen light on. No footprints in the sand. Everything says nobody home, except that phone that says otherwise. You learn to listen for what a house doesn't say. The hum of an old fridge. The fan that should be on. The dog that should be barking. Quiet can be mercy. Quiet can also mean we're late. 15 minutes. I key up again. Where is law enforcement? I ask. 15 minutes is forever if someone's bleeding quietly or breathing like a whisper. My partner hates the math. So do I. Math doesn't care. Front window. Old frame. Old paint that complains under your hand. Unlocked. Don't, my partner says. You can't go in there, he has a gun. I know, I say. Stay outside if I need you. Move. Before anyone writes this down as courage, understand, a lot of decisions don't feel brave when you make them. They feel like obedience to something that doesn't show up on paper. Training is a set of rails. Policy is a map. But some days there's a voice that says, he called, and if calling doesn't bring someone, what is calling worth? I slide through, land on terrazzo floor, and let the house breathe in my ears. On the floor by the threshold, loafers, kicked off like the day quit early. I pick them up, one in each hand. Not a plan. Not a weapon. Just something to buy one more heartbeat if I need it. A stupid little trick in a place where all the smart ones were taken. Short hall. Kitchen, phone on the counter, cord tugged tight, metal trash can with a fresh crease and a soot halo. He didn't miss, he chose the can. Practice shot or a cry for help. Either way, he wanted someone to come. I lift the receiver without taking my eyes off the dark. Whispering, I say, Rescue 12 inside, I tell dispatch. Her voice is tight as a tourniquet. You are in danger! Get out now! I whisper, I'm here to help. Keep the line open and get me some cops here now. Left shoulder to the wall and loafers in my hands. Back bedroom door mostly closed, the way people leave a door when they want to be found, but not fast. I nudge it with a shoe. Late afternoon light pools on a made bed. A man, 30-something, lying prone on the covers, face buried in the pillow, arms at his sides. Still. Is he dead? I watch his back there, a breath. Relief. Then the next question. Will he fight me? Is the gun close? I take the last step on the breath I saved for it. I reach to control him. No fight, just a face buried in the pillow. I put one hand between his shoulder blades and slide my other hand under the pillow, the place where bad surprises wait. That's when he starts to sob, soundless at first, a tremor felt with both hands. My fingers found it, cold as the thought that put it there. A .38 caliber snub-nose weight that can change a room. I don't yank, I immobilize it. Palm pins down the grip, muzzle away, finger clear. Slow, deliberate, the way you move when you need a future. The front door explodes behind me, boots, splinters, law arriving like a correction to a bad idea. Sirens at last learning the address. I keep my voice low. "Sir, I'm here to help." He breaks. 38 years old and crying like a boy who finally found the grown-up that stayed. We walk him out slow, like carrying a candle through wind. The world is brighter than it has any right to be. Sun making diamonds in the dust we kicked up. Neighbors peeking from behind blinds, learning the shape of a secret they'll never quite know. In the ambulance, he answers half the questions and none of the ones that matter. Name? He tells us. Meds? He shrugs. Why today? He says he's tired, and that word has a weight you can't put on a scale. At the ER, forms do what forms can. Keep a life on this side of the line for a while. He's alive. Sometimes that's not the ending, it's permission to write one. Back at station, I wash longer than the soap asks. The report can't say what it felt like. 15 minutes on a lawn waiting for someone else to be in charge. A window that gave instead of keeping. A pair of loafers, silly but yet serious at the same time. A palm that learned exactly how heavy a decision is. The captain calls me into his office and quietly shuts the door. He lights me up. Protocol. Weapons. Liability. The whole sermon. He's right. We're 1,000 pages of policy built on other people's worst days. Then he stares at the wall and sighs. That's exactly what I would have done. That's what we do. We put our lives in danger to save a life. He shakes his head. I don't know if you were smart or stupid, Dot, but that man is alive. I don't know either, sir, I say. Then the captain says something profound. Both can be true. In fact, some days they're twins. After the paperwork and the cooling coffee and the jokes that aren't funny, the station gets quiet. And that's when the noises come back. The clack of a plastic receiver. The wet, swallowed sob in a back bedroom. The breath you take before you reach under a pillow. Sometimes the report ends, but your body doesn't. Sometimes your pulse writes its own narrative in your wrists for hours. Sometimes you still hear a phone and a man calling for help with a whimper. If this finds the man who cried that afternoon, I hope you found a different morning. You don't get to keep people. You get moments. Weeks later, while at the ER, I'm restocking the truck. Gloves, airway adjuncts, tape that never sticks when you need it to. When a nurse I know from the ER walks up with an envelope. No return address. But to Medic 12 was on it in a careful, almost school kid handwriting. Inside, a note on ruled paper and a photograph. The photo is a small kitchen. My angle, same counter, same phone, trash can with a new lid. And in the corner, where I never looked that day, because when life's on the line you learn to see only what matters, there's a framed picture on the wall. A man in dress blues. Younger. Straighter. Impossible not to recognize when you've walked him out of his house. The note says, I didn't think anyone would come without a badge. You did. I'm getting help. I don't know how to say thank you in a way that fits. So I'll say it the only way I can. Thank you for coming in anyway. I read it twice and then a third time for the part of me that didn't believe in letters like this. Later, I looked up the things we say around calls like his, the statistics we bring to a gunfight with despair. More than half of suicides in this country involve a firearm. Most aren't on the news. Most don't make a sound anybody hears until it's too late. Men his age? They carry a lot. Veterans? They carry extra. The numbers change depending on who's counting and when, but the feeling doesn't. Too many people step into a room with only one door they can see. I wondered if he was one of them, if that photo in dress blues was a clue or a costume. I wondered if it mattered. I wondered how often we talk about courage like it's only for uniforms, and not for anyone who decides to wake up tomorrow one more time. Here's the part the story won't let me skip, the part where I admit that for every house I went into, there are days I didn't. There were scenes where the risk outweighed the reach, where the math finally won. It's easy, in the glow of a good outcome, to polish a rule you broke into something like wisdom. But the truth is messier. The line between brave and reckless is drawn by outcomes you can't always see from the yard. We train for that uncertainty. We drill on staging and perimeter and waiting for law enforcement. We repeat phrases that taste like restraint because they're supposed to. We talk about angles and fatal funnels and the geometry of rooms. We teach our hands to move slow and our voices to move softer when a life is frayed to threads. But some part of the job isn't a job. It's a vow you make with the quiet. You say, if you call, I will come. I will show up with the best of me even if the best of me is scared. I will hold on to the idea that today presence counts as medicine. There's a kind of investigative work that doesn't look like TV. It's not a conspiracy wall with red string. It's the archaeology of a life you step into for 20 minutes. The sink with 2 bowls and 1 spoon drying. The calendar with every day blank since the first of the month. The drawers where someone organized batteries by size like order could outvote sadness. The back bedroom door mostly closed. The grammar of the human wish to be found, but not fast. We say we treat patience. Sometimes what we treat is loneliness. Sometimes all the oxygen in the world can't touch the air. Someone hasn't breathed in months. The air of being seen without being judged, of being held to this side of the ledger, of being told the paperwork can wait because today you woke up and asked for someone. I asked the captain later off the record about days like that one. We stood by the bay door watching the engine crew pretend to argue about mops. "Son, what would you want me to say?" he asked. "Tell me if I did it wrong." He smiled like a man who has been wrong in all the right ways. "You did it dangerously," he said. "And you did it for a reason." This job asks us to live in that space. Don't make a home there, but don't forget how to visit. Then he paused and said, "The older I get in this work, the more I think courage is less a shout than a steady hand. It's the way you say sir when a man can't find his own name. It's the way you move a muzzle without moving a man's dignity. It's the way you let your partners know where you are, even when the map says you shouldn't be there." People ask how you sleep after calls like that. The honest answer is you don't, not right away. You unpack the day the way you unpack a jump bag, finding where you put the extra pair of trauma shears, where the tape went, where the sound of a plastic receiver landing on tile hid inside your head. And then one night, without asking, the noise quiets. Not because you forgot, because you learned to carry it without spilling. Months pass. Calls stack into each other. Car wrecks. Asthma. A birthday where the candles got there before we did. 1,000 forgettable kindnesses no one writes about. I keep his letter in the visor. It's not a talisman, but it's a reminder. You don't always get to know how the story ends. Sometimes you get a sentence. Sometimes a comma. Sometimes nothing at all. But sometimes, rare as rain in August, someone writes back. One Saturday, we're staged outside a community event. Kids climbing on the engine, parents pretending not to climb on the engine, when a man in a collared shirt stops at the edge of our shade. He looks like every other Saturday man. He asks if I'm the medic on 12. "Yes, sir." He slowly nods like he's checking an address. He doesn't say his name, and I don't ask. Then he says softly, "I'm finding different mornings," and his eyes say the part his mouth can't. I don't fix him. I don't deliver a speech. We stand in the kind of silence that doesn't hurt and watch a 5-year-old put on a firefighter helmet that could be a boat. He thanks me. I tell him he did the hardest part. We are both telling the truth. He doesn't mention the photograph. I don't ask if the uniform on the wall was his. Some mysteries are better as respect than answers. When he walks away, he moves like a man carrying something heavy. Only this time it's forward, not down. If you're watching this and wondering what the point of a story like this is, what good does it do to revisit a house where the air was a choice and everything could have gone worse? Here's my answer. Not every save is a save. Sometimes it's a stay. Sometimes the difference between an ending and a pause is the time it takes to slide in a window and step on a terrazzo floor. Sometimes the difference is a dispatcher who stays on the line and speaks in a voice that keeps you human. Sometimes it's a partner who says don't and stands ready anyway. Sometimes it's a captain who chews you out because he wishes he'd been there to do it first. And sometimes it's a pair of shoes, ridiculous and ordinary, that let your hands feel like they were holding something besides fear. If you are the one listening with a phone in your hand and a long afternoon in your chest, hear this from a stranger who's been in the dark room. Tired is not the same as done. Alone is not the same as gone. There are people whose whole job is to be your proof that you are not too much trouble. There are numbers that ring, and when they ring, someone comes. If you are the one who goes when it rings, you already know what I'm about to say. You will not always choose right. You will not always get to choose. You will drive back to the bay some nights with the kind of quiet that doesn't wash off. You will wonder who you are to walk into rooms like that. You will be the kind of tired that looks like someone else's face in the mirror. And still, on some afternoon when the heat holds the day like that, you will hear a sound that only a plastic receiver makes when it loses hope. You will look at a window that is older than your training. You will decide which page of the book you can't live with tomorrow. You will do the math, and the math will say no dot, and you will go in anyway. I can't tell you if that's smart. I won't tell you to make a habit of it. I will tell you that once, a man I did not know wrote me a note that said he woke up the next day because someone didn't wait for the perfect version of help. Maybe that's all any of us are ever doing, showing up imperfectly, sooner than perfectly, so that a stranger gets another morning. If this finds the man who cried that afternoon, I hope the phone on your counter never goes off hook again. I hope the trash can lid stays boring. I hope there is a coffee cup by the sink most days, and a dish you let dry without rushing, and shoes by the door you kick off because the day was long, not because it was over. I hope the frame on your wall holds whatever truth you needed it to. I hope you keep finding different mornings. And if this finds the rest of us, dispatchers, medics, officers, neighbors, maybe the assignment is simpler than we make it. Listen fast. Arrive steady. Speak like you're loaning someone your breath. And when the math says no and mercy says maybe, choose the door that frightens you for the sake of the person who called. People think heroism is loud. Most days it's quiet. Most days it's a choice you make when nobody claps. And some days, on a block with neat yards, under a Florida sun that refuses to blink, it sounds like a plastic receiver landing on tile, and the answer you carry when you go in anyway.